One, two, one, two, three.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are all having a spectacular day. Okay, I finished book 6 and it took a long time. It took all of March, which is kind of, I know, annoying. But I've just been really busy with school and teaching, and it kind of just got away from me. My reading at night got away from me, but I finished book 6, so we are here to talk about Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince for my Harry Potter reread series. I finished book 6. I finished book 6, I watched movie 6, and we are here to talk about all of the things, A, that I forgot, and B, that are different between the movie and the book. But before we get started, please don't forget to subscribe because it'll really support my channel. I can't believe we're almost done with the reread series. This is crazy. I've had the best time reading them. There's so much that I forgot about. There's so much in the books that I just love, and like, you know, if you go and watch all of my reread series, you'll see the things that I wish that they kept and all that kind of stuff. So I'm excited to talk about book 6. Let me get my handy dandy notes on my cell phone. Okay, let's talk about this. And these are just things that I don't think that they mention in the movie, but when Sirius died, spoiler alert, he left 12 Grimmauld Place to Harry. So like all of Sirius's stuff was left to Harry, and Harry actually ended up letting the Order of the Phoenix use 12 Grimmauld Place as headquarters. So they don't really mention that, and I feel like the other thing that I think is important is that there's just so much more to the Sirius and Harry relationship that I wanted in the movie, in the storytelling, because I also love both of those actors so much, and you get so much more context in the books. So that was one thing that I forgot about in the books that they don't really mention in the movie. The other thing that I think is interesting that they added, and I don't know why they did that, is in the movie, Harry is seen in the train station flirting with one of the waiters, and then Dumbledore comes to get him from the train, and then that's how they go to get Professor Slughorn. But in the book, Dumbledore actually comes to 12 Privet Drive and has a whole moment with his aunt and uncle, and I just think that that's better. And it's interesting, Dumbledore says in the movie, "You've been reckless this summer," and he's like, "Well, I like riding around on trains." And I get that they're trying to show Harry with like some form of independence, but I would have rather seen his independence, like I said in book 5 or book 4, when he goes to the Leaky Cauldron and spends a whole week alone in Diagon Alley. I'd rather see that than him just like in the London underground flirting with a muggle. I don't know, just my opinion. The other thing I want to talk about that they really just cut out completely is how much Molly Weasley, Ginny, and Hermione dislike Fleur Delacour, who's supposed to marry Bill. They hate her, and I get why they didn't want to add that. That's, you know, I don't know. I just think it's hilarious, and I totally forgot about that entire thing of they like really despise her, and they're actually kind of very mean to her, which I think is horrible, but funny. So I get why they took it out, but I just completely forgot about that entire storyline. Oh, something else. I think that they maybe just assume, because I actually just, you know, watched the movie and they have the Quidditch Tryouts where Harry and Ginny are running it, but they never mentioned that Harry is captain, and that seemed like a big deal to him, like to be captain and to run the tryouts and to be in charge and all that kind of stuff, more responsibility. So I think maybe they just assume that you are supposed to make an assumption while watching the movie, but they go into a lot more detail in the book about it, and I just thought that that was like a nice addition or something for him to look forward to go back to school with. The other thing that I thought was interesting too in the movie when they go to Diagon Alley to go see Fred and George's shop, Weasley's Wizard Wheezes, there's so much more security, and they actually don't want Harry traveling anywhere alone at all. But in the movie, the trio goes and follows Draco, and it's like nothing's changed, but Diagon Alley is completely shut down. I don't know, I feel like the sense of danger is a lot more heavy in the book as opposed to the movie, where everything's kind of just normal because nothing's really happened yet. Like, Sirius has died and like Voldemort has been at the Ministry, but nothing significant or really drastic has happened. The other thing that they changed completely in the Borgin and Burke scene when they're in Diagon Alley, Malfoy's alone and he goes into Borgin and Burke's and he asks the worker there to hold a certain item or to make sure that a certain item is there for him when he comes back, and then if not, he's gonna send Gray back to, you know, teach him a lesson. And the trio follows Malfoy, and then Hermione actually ends up going into Borgin and Burke's to find out what Malfoy's been doing. But in the movie, they see Malfoy with all the Death Eaters, so they just like make an assumption that he's a Death Eater already. And I think I prefer the first one because it creates more mystery as to know whether or not, like, what Draco's involved in. I feel like if they were to see him with Bellatrix and his mother and Greyback, it's very clear what's going on, that he is a Death Eater. So I actually would have preferred them to watch Malfoy. It also shows that, like, Malfoy's alone and he's, like, struggling and all that kind of stuff, as opposed to just, like, already in the mix with everybody. I don't know, that's just my opinion. The other thing that I thought was really interesting, and this has actually happened a lot in book 6/movie 6, they brought in more characters into the movie, or brought forward more characters into the movie as opposed to the book. So in the book, when Harry gets Petrificus Totalis by Malfoy on the train, it's actually Tonks who finds him and brings him to Hogwarts, because she's the Auror who's supposed to be protecting the outside of Hogwarts. But in the movie, it's Luna Lovegood. And they actually, I think it's because of the actress, but I think that they brought Luna in much more into the movies because of the actress who played her, and like how well her character was developed through the actress, which I actually appreciate. Like, I love Tonks as a character, but I love Luna as well. She's so different from everybody else, and I really enjoy watching her, and all her scenes I think are really funny, and they did a lot with her in movie 6. The other thing that's interesting, and I really like book 6 because it gives you a glimpse more into Voldemort's history, but so in the movie we see the scene where Dumbledore visits the orphanage, but there's so many other scenes in the Pensieve where Harry sees Voldemort's parents and him as a child, and him, you know, there's just so many more scenes that I wish that they would have went into more detail and spent more time on, because I think they're really important to really understanding Voldemort. And I get that they wanted to make the movie have a lighter edge because we were going to get really heavy in book 7 or movie 7, and it was a lot of comedy, especially with Slughorn and the parties and all that kind of stuff. You know, there was a lot of comedy in it, but I wish that we spent a little more time with Dumbledore and Harry in the memories. There were several scenes in the book that we learned a lot more about Voldemort and his, you know, and his past and his parents, that I think would have given the viewers more insight into what was going on between the two of them, Harry and Voldemort. Something else, and I talk about this in every single movie, they really don't stress the fact that they're in school. And in the books, it's every year they're learning something new. So this year, Snape was teaching them to cast spells without speaking. And I always wondered that, you know, I read the book so long ago. When I watch the movies, I'm like, why do some wizards just wave their wand and something happens, but all of the kids have to yell out the spells? And it's because of that reason. You have to learn, you have to become an advanced wizard and learn how to think the spell and have it happen, and that's what they practice all of book 6. So I just wish in all of the movies there was a little more attention to the different spells that they're learning, as opposed to they just like know all these spells. You know, I mean, in book 5 they have their group where they teach each other everything, but I don't know, I just think that there should have been a little bit more emphasis in the movies on school. Again, backstory of things. I mean, I know that Lupin isn't like a main character, but Lupin was bit by Greyback as a child, and that's why he's a werewolf. I don't know. I don't know if that we needed to know that in the movie. They also didn't make Greyback a main character. They actually brought Bellatrix more forward than Greyback, but there's actually more info on Greyback than there is on Bellatrix in book 6. The other thing, again, schoolwork, they learn how to apparate in movie 6 or book 6, and there's nothing about that in the movies, and then they just know how to apparate. You actually have to take a test in order to apparate. So again, I just wish that they stressed all of the things that they should have been learning. And I get, you know, action-packed, forward, plot, I get all of that, but these kids just learn how to do all these things and we don't watch them learn how to do it. I don't know. I just think that it's important to see like how they've grown through their school, you know, all of the things that they've learned, and that the book really stresses that. Oh, I thought this was funny too, you know, the whole like love connection between Ron and Lavender. But what's funny is that when Ron gets poisoned in the movie, he doesn't remember saying Hermione's name, and that's how they break up. But he actually in the book tells Lavender that he's gonna go meet Romilda because he took the love potion and he's in love with her, and she gets upset, and there's like a lot more drama between all of that, between the two of them, between Harry, and there's also so much more backstory between Harry and Ginny with the background of like, he's her brother and da-da-da-da-da. There's so much more drama with Ginny and Harry and all of that, and I think they do a good job of it. Yes, but I think there could have been a little bit more, in my opinion. Something else that they really don't do in the movies is that anytime anybody gets hurt at Hogwarts, the parents come to make sure that their children are okay. I feel like in the movies, they're like, well, they just live here, and when all these bad things happen, like, the parents don't give a crap about anything. But no, in the books, like, Arthur Weasley comes to check on Ron when he gets poisoned, or, you know, the parents come and check on their children. I just think it's funny in the movies, the parents are gone, and they just, like, don't care if their kids are hurt or injured or anything. Again, I talked about this, I think, books 4 and 5, they completely cut out they completely cut out Dobby and Kreacher, and so in this book, Kreacher now is a servant to Harry because Harry now owns 12 Grimmauld Place, which is Sirius's house, so, you know, Kreacher has to serve Harry, and Harry makes him work at Hogwarts, and he orders Kreacher and Dobby to tail Malfoy to find out what Malfoy's doing in the Room of Requirement. So I get it, I know that that's a lot of CGI, but they kind of cut out that entire storyline of Harry using Dobby and Kreacher to his advantage to try to figure out what was going on with Malfoy. Like I said, there's so much more of Harry and Ginny. The other thing that I thought was really interesting that I totally forgot about is that Voldemort wanted to come back and teach at Hogwarts and asked Dumbledore if he could be a teacher, and Dumbledore said no. And I don't know, they really just didn't include any of Voldemort's backstory in the movies, and I think that that's, I don't know, there's so much history and importance, and like you really learn about like Voldemort's motivations. You also learn a lot more about the prophecy, which I'll get to in a second. It was Professor Trelawney who made the prophecy, and Snape overheard the Professor Trelawney tell Dumbledore about the prophecy, and Snape's the one that told Voldemort, which then created this entire thing of Voldemort trying to kill Harry and his parents. Crazy. Totally forgot about all of that, and they don't really mention that in the movies either. I don't know. I think it's all really important, so I would definitely say now that I'm finishing or almost finished with my Harry Potter reread, I definitely think the books are much better than the movies because you just lose out on so much of the context of the characters in the movies, because obviously they can't do, you know, the entire book in one movie. It would just be ridiculous. Oh, I don't know that they do this in the movie, but Ron says, "I love you, Hermione," in the books. Foreshadowing. Also, you guys, check your copies. So my copy is I think it's a 30th printing, some kind of printing, but on page 485, they call him Rupert and not Ron. Is that a mistake? I think that's a printing mistake, because there's no character named Rupert, but Rupert played Ron Weasley. Check that. Leave a comment below if your books have that problem too. Page 485. Okay, so they make a really big deal in the movies about the Felix Felicis potion and how it like gives him liquid luck and all that kind of stuff. But in the book, he only takes a little droplet of it. He doesn't take the whole potion. In the movie, he downs the whole thing, which is why he sort of plays it like he's drunk. I don't know. I don't think that he would have needed the entire potion. Plus, in the book, Harry gives it to his friends to use for when everything goes down when the Death Eaters come to Hogwarts, and it actually saves their lives. So I just thought that was funny that he downs the whole potion in the movie. Something else that I just think it's funny, and it was with all of the books, the amount of detentions that these kids get. I've never been to detention in my entire, you know, grade school career, so I just think it was hilarious that like Harry got detention every year, multiple times, all the time. He got detention with Snape. He was just so much detention. I just think it's hilarious. Like, clearly detention's not working if every year he's getting detention. Oh, again, I know that they changed all of this. So in the movie, Harry and Ginny kiss in the Room of Requirement, but actually he ends up kissing her in the common room after they win the Quidditch match that Harry doesn't get to play at because he's in detention. And he does it in front of everybody. So I thought that, I don't know, there's so much more context into their relationship in the book that I think we miss out in the movie just a tad. Okay, so I think that they did really well with the cave scene. It was very well done in the movie compared to the book. The only thing that they didn't do was have them swim, which, like, I totally get. I don't know that Dumbledore could be swimming at his age. I don't know, maybe not. But I think that the cave scene was really, really, really well done. Except for the fact that they apparated in and out of Hogsmeade, not Hogwarts. And that's what allowed the Death Eaters to come in and lure Dumbledore to the Astronomy Tower for then Malfoy to disarm him and, you know, ultimately do what they do to Dumbledore. So I thought that that was interesting. And I know that they cut out like Madame Rosmerta and a bunch of characters in Hogsmeade, so I totally get why they did that. It's just extra fluff where like you just want to get to the meat of, you know, Draco having this meltdown of having to kill Dumbledore. Oh, also what I was saying about adding more characters, so there's a lot more context about Greyback in the books, but I think because of Helena Bonham Carter, they really made Bellatrix a forefront in the movies, you know, for 4, 5, 6, and 7, which I love. She's one of my favorite characters, but she's not in the book at all, actually. She's in the book in the very beginning when they make the unbreakable vow, but she's not in the Astronomy Tower. She doesn't set Hagrid's hut on fire. You know, she's not really involved, and I actually, compared to the book, I prefer the movie to that because I just love her and her craziness and you know, her commitment to Voldemort. I think that that is much better than the way that it went down in the book. Another thing that they didn't really do, it was kind of just Harry and all the Death Eaters, and the Death Eaters come and just like destroy Hogwarts and no one really knows in the movie, but in the book there's actually a big fight. So, you know, we get the big Battle of Hogwarts in movie 7, but there's actually a really big fight where people are getting injured, and it's actually where Bill gets bit by Greyback, and that's how he becomes a like quote-unquote werewolf or some form of a werewolf, and they're all end up being in the hospital, and Neville gets hurt, and there's actually a lot more you know, action than portrayed in the movie. In the movie, the Death Eaters just kind of like destroy the Great Hall and then leave and set Hagrid's hut on fire. Speaking of Hagrid, Hagrid is there when Snape tells Harry that he's the Half-Blood Prince and that Dumbledore's dead and all that kind of stuff. Hagrid is with Harry, which I guess I understand why they may have left it out, but I feel like it makes the Hagrid-Harry bond much stronger, and their bond is much stronger in the books than they put in all the movies. Something else that I thought was really important. So I know that the movie says that, you know, Snape is the Half-Blood Prince, but Hermione does this research where she finds that Eileen Prince, who owned the advanced potion making book, was Snape's mother, and Snape's father was Tobias Prince, who was a muggle, which I think is crazy that Voldemort wouldn't know any of that. I don't know. Like, I don't know how Snape could be so close to Voldemort being a half-blood when he's so... I mean, I guess Voldemort's a half-blood, so he can't judge, but I don't know. But I think that that's really important, and it gives you a little bit more context into Snape. Something else that I thought was really interesting, and I could totally remember reading this, of like how, and I love Snape for his redemption, but how much Snape comes off as a villain if you don't know what happens in book 7. Like, and through all the books, the way he treats Harry, like, it makes total sense that he would have killed Dumbledore and done all of these horrible things and been on Voldemort's side, and I just love, I can't wait to reread book 7, you know, for that whole flashback of how he felt. Something else that they left out in the movie was Dumbledore's funeral and how important that was to Harry. I said this in movie 5 and book 5. We don't really get to see Harry grieve over Sirius Black. He kind of just goes back to school, and I feel like, you know, we need to, like, those are huge losses for him. Dumbledore, Sirius, Cedric, you know, giant losses, and I feel like we don't really, it's not that I need like hours of scenes, I just need like 1 or 2 scenes where we see him really struggling to get through, because obviously like each time like he thinks it's his fault, which is horrible. But yeah, so they didn't really do Dumbledore's funeral in the movies either. But those are my thoughts on book 6. I just don't know what my favorite is yet. I have to finish book 7 and then I'll tell you guys, like, I'll rank it all, like what are my favorite movies, you know, 1 to 7, and what are my favorite books 1 to 7. But oh, the reread's so good, and it's good even though you know what's coming, because there's so many things that I forgot about. So let me know your thoughts, leave a comment below. I can't believe I'm gonna start reading book 7 tonight. I can't believe we're coming to the end of our Harry Potter reread series. Don't worry, there's going to be lots of Harry Potter related stuff on my channel because I love Harry Potter. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please give it a like. Don't forget to subscribe before you go, and I will see you guys for our 7th and final video of our Harry Potter reread series when we talk about Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. See you guys.